prevailing wage law. Today, I'll be serving as your moderator for this session on equipment and supplies. Just a quick housekeeping note, if you will. We are recording this for use on our website and social media accounts, so we would ask that everyone mute themselves so we can minimize the risk of interference for our recording. I'd like to introduce my colleagues from the Office of Procurement. First, we have Grace Deno. Grace is the Chief of the Division of Business Relations and Compliance. Then Sharonda Baltimore, who is our faithful IT specialist. And then we have three procurement specialists, Karen DeLuca, Sarah Giambra, and Jeff Steed. Collectively, they represent over 50 years of experience as Montgomery County procurement specialists, so we're pleased to have them with us today. We're also joined by contract administrators. We have Kathleen Hines of the Department of General Services, Allison Cohen from the Department of Recreation, and Andy Olasagahi and Steve Lampier from Fire and Rescue. Each contract administrator will deliver their PowerPoint presentations. Then we'll be glad to answer questions at the conclusion of all the presentations. What we ask you to do is type your question into the chat box. And then, if you will, include your email address in case we run out of time, we can email you a response to your question. Thanks for your cooperation on that. Now, I'd like to introduce Kathleen Hines from the Department of General Services. Kathleen?
One second, Jack. I do not see Kathleen on the group. Let me see if I can reach her.
She was signed on earlier at about 12:25.
Okay, one second. Okay, she will be joining us in just 1 second. Thank you for your patience.
Hey, Jack, this is Rick. If she has problems signing on, I can go into my 3 solicitations if you want me to. That's coming up.
That might be a good idea, Rick.
You want me to go ahead into mine?
Yes, please.
Okay. My name's Rick Taylor, and I'm the section chief for Montgomery County's Publication and Document Services section.
Hello, this is Kathleen Hines.
Oh, you want to go ahead, Kathleen?
Okay, yeah, let's reshuffle it. Thanks, Rick.
Okay.
Thanks, for your offer. Kathleen, go ahead, please.
Okay, can we go back to the beginning slide?
Yes.
1 second.
Okay. All right, this is the Department of General Services, Division of Fleet Management Services. I'm Kathleen Hines. I'm a certified professional public buyer and the contract administrator for fleet vehicles and equipment. Next slide. There are 4 sections in the Division of Fleet Management Services: business operations, which is administrative; materials management, which is dedicated to logistics. That's the contracting, acquisition, and management of parts and fuel; maintenance services, a light shop, a heavy shop, and 3 transit shops; and equipment management, which is the focus of this presentation. We are tasked with the composition of the fleet, replacement policy, writing specifications, writing the solicitations, contract management, doing all the acquisitions, and disposal of retired vehicles and equipment. There are about 3,500 discrete pieces of equipment and vehicle assets in about 30 departments. 9 departments account for about 80% of all the capital assets. They are the 4 public safety departments, that's police, fire and rescue, sheriff, correction and rehabilitation, the Department of Transportation with all 5 of its divisions, Health and Human Services, Housing and Community Affairs, Permitting Services, and Recreation. Next slide. There are a number of IFBs coming up. We have one big IFB, which I'll talk about in detail, for sedans, crossover utility vehicles, sport utility vehicles, vans, pickup trucks, chassis cabs, cutaways, strip chassis, medium duty trucks, and heavy duty trucks. All of these include upfits, alterations, and modifications. And there will be a number of IFBs for light, medium, and heavy equipment such as forklifts, loaders, graders, rollers, pavers, plow, dump trucks, aerial buckets, excavators, and trailers, to name a few, and 1 or more RFPs for transit buses. Next, please. This invitation for bid 1114498, this is not on the street yet. It is referred to as the off-the-lot solicitation, and the resultant contracts are referred to as off-the-lot contracts, whether or not a vehicle comes from your inventory or it's factory ordered. The name of the solicitation will be new vehicles, including incomplete vehicles for upfit, all gross vehicle weight ratings 2,900 pounds through 33,000 pounds and up, all fuel types, including aftermarket alterations. That link there that you see, let that link be your friend. That is the Office of Procurement page where solicitations that are on the street can be found. When you click on a solicitation number and you get solicitation details, and you are given several options to see the solicitation. Option 1 is a download option. You'll definitely want to download the solicitation. But option 2 is a contact option that asks you to submit your email, name, and company. Do this so that you'll be sent solicitation amendments as they occur automatically. Quite a few prospective bidders will lose out on an award because they are not aware of amendments that have been posted since the solicitation hit the street. So make sure you do the contact option when you download a solicitation. Now, to be eligible for a contract, you must be a licensed new car dealership in a California emissions state. Maryland is a California emissions state, and you must have a Maryland trader's license. Notice I did not say you must be a Maryland dealership. Okay. And I must remind you that that includes a dealership by way of House Bill 235, which came into law in October of 2015. That's what says that a manufacturer or distributor can get a Maryland dealer's license if it sells only electric or non-fossil fuel burning vehicles, and if no other dealer in the state has a franchise to sell the vehicle, also known as the Tesla law. Okay, you may bid on a contract. Next slide. Besides proactively checking the procurement website for solicitations that apply to you, you may register as a vendor. In fact, you must register as a vendor if you are awarded a contract. You do this at mcipcc.net. When you are registered here by your NIGP codes, National Institute of Government Purchasing codes, you are registered with Montgomery County Government, Montgomery College, Montgomery County Public Schools, Housing Opportunities Commission, Maryland National Capital Parks and Planning, and the City of Rockville, all of whom have their own fleets. Next slide. But registering there doesn't mean you are done. You are responsible for keeping your information current. This is how we communicate with you. Solicitation notices are sent by the Office of Procurement to the company contact according to the NIGP codes for which you are registered. Please keep in mind that NIGP codes change. Review yours at least once a year. See, when I write a solicitation and I send it up to the Office of Procurement, I designate the NIGP codes that are to be used by the Office of Procurement to notify people on this central vendor registration system. So make sure yours are current. Contacts change. The contact person should be someone who looks at their emails daily and is interested in doing something about a solicitation posting. That doesn't necessarily mean your dealer principal. Okay. I should say, when prepping this slide, I was looking over all the automotive dealerships and equipment dealerships and noticed that at least a third of you have contacts that are either gone, wrong, or dead. Yes. So please go in and fix your registrations. Very important. Next slide. We solicit for sedans and crossover utility vehicles by curb weight. The manufacturers down the right-hand side there are manufacturers that we look for. And we solicit for SUVs by gross vehicle weight rating. Examples of the sedans and crossover utility vehicles by curb weight. The first one, a compact vehicle, might be a Hyundai Kona. The second one, an intermediate size vehicle, might be a Hyundai Tucson. And the full size curb weight, 3,700 pounds and up, may be a Hyundai Santa Fe. So there would be lines in the solicitation for each one of those. So for instance, you could be a Hyundai dealer and only have won the line for the compact vehicle, and another Hyundai dealer might have won the line for the full size. So each line is awarded by most advantageous to the county. Crossover utility vehicles, very different from sport utility vehicles, and the actual solicitation lists what their differences are so that you should become clear on that. Next slide. Pickup trucks will either be mid-size, for instance, a Ford Ranger, Chevrolet Colorado, or full size, like a Ford F-Series, Chevrolet Silverado, etc. Vans are either minivans, full size, chassis cabs, or cutaways to which you will add a body of some kind. Again, manufacturers are listed down the right-hand side that we want to make sure we have contracts with. Next slide. Same for all the conventional chassis cabs. We can buy just a chassis cab, but I never have. I've been in this position for 13 years, and there will be some kind of an upfit that goes on the chassis cab or the cutaway or the strip chassis or the cab over. Your bid is for the incomplete vehicle to which you'll be adding a body and passing through the upfitter's pricing just like any other commercial deal. Next. So if you're bidding by line item, and there's over 100 line items, say if you're that Hyundai dealer and you want to be able to sell me a Hyundai Kona, you would enter a dollar amount on line 9 in this example. And your bid will be some dollar amount either over or under. It'll be a plus or a minus or a 0, which is an adjustment to dealer invoice at the time of purchase. This is an example page from the IFB quotation sheet of that great big off the lot IFB that we talked about earlier. Next slide. Have the next slide, please.
The contractor quote is up. Do you see that?
I'm sorry, what?
Your contractor quote, the next slide is what's presented.
That one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I see it. Okay. So then when I ask you for a quote on, let's say, that Hyundai Kona that I found in your inventory on your website, you would respond with an email with the invoice memorandum from the OEM on which you have written, say, the dealer invoice amount that includes freight and advertising, a minus or plus the awarded line item amount, minus incentives for which we qualify, the better of fleet or retail. This doesn't have to be a fleet sale. If retail incentives are better than the government price concession, you must give us the most advantageous to which we qualify. Plus the cost of upfit, modifications, or alterations, like I said, pass through just like any commercial deal, equals the acquisition cost. Next slide. The county's payment terms are net 30. The clock starts counting those 30 days upon my acceptance of the unit. So after you deliver the unit to whichever shop I designate on the PO, they examine it, make sure that, you know, the delivery driver didn't hit something on the way over here. It's happened. It's checked in according to the terms of the contract. I signed for it, and then the net 30-day clock starts. This is an example of a Class 1 pickup that you would be asked to sell to us if you were awarded the line item for a full-size pickup of that particular OEM. This would probably be a factory order for you. It would be unlikely that you would have this on the lot. You know, a race red Super Crew with a short box. You might, but it'll probably be a factory order. And to that, I will also provide you the specification for whatever would need to be added. I will probably tell you where you should go to get that quote, and it may be multiple body companies so that we can take the most advantageous to the county. Next slide. Here's an example of a Class 6 chassis cab, an incomplete vehicle to which you would be adding, next slide, a 14-foot, this is an example, a 14-foot aluminum platform body. Now this says MHEB, but I might also ask for a knapheide, a loom line, truck craft. I may ask you to pass this along to all 4 of them to see who will be the most advantageous to the county, but I will make sure that you get a very specific list of equipment that must be included in your quote. Next slide. I will also be very specific as to anything else going on that truck, in this case, amber lights. Yes, it will really be this specific. I will have done the research. I will know what has to go on the truck and where it has to go. And of course, you can always ask questions, but you will know exactly what to quote. Next. So in addition to that one big IFB, which we refer to as the off-the-lot IFB, which results in many, or hopefully many, off-the-lot contracts, whether or not something comes from your lot or is factory ordered. We also plan to solicit for large compact excavators, a pavement marking truck, skid steer, compact, and small articulated loaders, utility vehicles, compact excavators, utility compactors such as a roller, trailers of all kinds, enclosed, flatbed, fifth wheel, hydraulic, air, you name it, and transit buses. Next. Okay, so you've paid attention to the solicitations. You found one that pertains to you. You submitted a bid and you were awarded a contract. So you're done. No, you're not. If any of these jurisdictions on this screen want to take advantage of the fact that a competitively bid and awarded contract was won by you, the scope of work fits their needs, like, boy, that's exactly the dump truck I need, and the price is fair and reasonable, you and them can decide on your own conditions and terms and bridge the contract you have with the county if you agree. My vendors regularly tell me that they're making sales to other jurisdictions on fleets contracts. I regularly get phone calls from a number of these entities asking, hey, who has the contract for Class 4 chassis cabs, for instance? It is up to you to tell them that you have a contract, and if you have a contract, if I were you, I would find the me in these jurisdictions and say, hey, I have a Montgomery County contract. If you want to sell fleet and commercial, this is another avenue for you to do that. Next. In closing, I welcome your questions. My name is Kathleen Hines. As the asset manager for the fleet, I am the contract administrator for everything that rolls and gets a license plate. That includes speed trailers for the police department. If it rolls and gets a license plate, we contract for it. Always best to email me at the address you see there. And I thank you for your time and attention. And next, we welcome Rick Taylor in printing services. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Rick Taylor. I'm the section chief for Montgomery County Publishing and Document Services.
Excuse me, Rick. Rick, excuse me. Sharonda, did you hear that echo?
I think I just fixed it. Go ahead.
There was an echo from your mic. Go ahead, Rick.
We good now?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I have 3 solicitations that will be coming out in the spring of 21. And the first solicitation is the reproduction and copying of engineering drawings. And just to go over a few items that will be in the scope of service, we will be, for the engineering drawings, the medium weight for the engineering drawings will be 20-pound weight, and we will order those in many different sizes from 8.5 by 11 all the way up to 24 by 36 and sometimes even larger than that. We also require some Mylars on that contract as well, and the Mylar has to be a minimum of 4 mil thick. And at times we will ask for blow-ups on there. taking a small print and blowing it up to a 24 by 36 print. On our color reproductions that we will need, we will require no less than 24-pound weight on those sheets. We will also ask for digital reductions, and that could be anywhere from a size of 30 inches by 40 inches all the way down to 11 by 17. We will also have on that solicitation the binding of the engineering drawings, and we get that in many different ways, from a staple to a GBC to a coil bound book. And we will also ask for our drawings to be mounted on foam core, and usually they're around 24 by 36, and the foam core requirements is roughly around a 1/2 inch thick. And then that will be the engineering drawings, and we will be adding some services to this contract than the previous contract. If you've downloaded it, there will be additional services added. And then for the next solicitation that will be coming out is for our recycled paper, and that is a mixed recycled paper. We do not separate the whites from the colors, and part of what is in that scope of service is a compactor be delivered to our record center facility up in Gaithersburg, Maryland. We also asked for, in that contract, for the rolling hoppers, to where paper can be placed in the rolling hoppers, waiting to be shredded. And then from the shredding, paper then goes into the compactor. We will be adding one additional service to this solicitation this time, which will be on-site shredding. Also, in the solicitation, the price will be based on tonnage and whatever the market condition is at that point in time. The vendor must be able to pick up the mixed paper no matter what the market is doing. I know right now the market is way down. We will still require our mixed paper to be picked up once the compactor is full. And that's basically it for the recycled. And again, the compactor will be at our Gaithersburg facility. And the next solicitation that I will have coming out is for paper and supplies. And with the paper, part of the scope of service is the bidder must be an authorized mill distributor. And that's mostly for mill complaints for paper that comes in. That happens on from time to time where we have to file a mill complaint. The bidder must be able to deliver paper and supplies to the Montgomery County print shop, as well as to our Gaithersburg facility. All deliveries must be made between 7:30 and 4 p.m. And the paper must be suitable for running in high-speed digital presses, as well as running through all of our small box printers throughout the county. The paper must be free of lint, fuzz, dirt, and things like that. We will require in the print shop cutting, and we could require any paper being cut from 8.5 by 11 up to 25 by 38 inches. If the paper is coming from the mill, it must be mill wrapped and on a commercial skid that can be loaded onto trucks. When the paper is delivered, we expect the paper to be flat, not standing on its sides. And all orders of our paper are delivered the next day. Some of the minimum qualifications that the contractor must have is they must have a warehouse to where we can have emergency pickups if needed. The bidder must be a FSC certified, which is the Forest Steward Council certification. And also, the bidder must be able to either furnish a hard copy price book or have the pricing up on their website, because one of the items in our pricing schedule is a percentage off of the either book price or the online price. And if you have any questions, my email is up there. My name's Richard Taylor. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Matt. Matt, are you on?
I am. Thank you very much, Richard. I apologize for the delay there. I was muted. Thanks for your interest in the Visual Communication Services contract. My name is Matthew Barkley. I'm the ADA Compliance Manager for Montgomery County, and I'm responsible for compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act for all programs and services and facilities for Montgomery County. This contract, we're looking for American Sign Language services for all throughout all of Montgomery County for deaf clients, people who are deaf or hard of hearing that may be accessing services that people need to, anything that Montgomery County offers, we need to make sure that we offer equal access to people who are deaf and hard of hearing, and that's what this contract is for. So as I mentioned, American Sign Language is probably the most common used aspect of this contract, but we need specialized interpreters who can handle medical, legal, tactile, and multilingual functions of American Sign Language. The contract also includes cued speech transliteration, VRI, that's video remote interpreting, and CART. So it's pretty standard for any provider that does sign language interpreting. It shouldn't be anything really new or surprising. What we're looking for is it's a challenging time with COVID, as we all know. So we're looking for innovations, particularly with video remote interpreting and CART, and using that for sorry, I was just looking at the message that popped up. Taking advantage of technology to best serve our valued clients who are deaf or hard of hearing. And with Zoom being the preferred way that people communicate nowadays versus the separate software that VRI traditionally uses. Availability on nights and weekends, reasonable rates, high quality interpreters, scheduling flexibility with last minute requests. Those are going to come in as part of this contract. It's just part of the nature of working with the population that we serve, and of course providing sign language interpreters to the Commission on People with Disabilities. So if anybody has any questions, my email address is there. My name is Matthew Barkley. The email address is mathew.barkley@montgomerycounty.gov. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much. I believe this concludes Department of General Services presentations. Thank you for your interest.
Great, thank you, Matt, Rick, and Kathleen. A lot of things going on in DGS. Next, we'll hear from Allison Cohen of the Department of Recreation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you for participating today. Recreation is a department within the county that supplies programs, facilities, and everything else for our community to ensure health, growth, and fun. We serve seniors, youth for out-of-school programming. We have aquatics facilities and community centers. We also have sports, TR, camps, and a whole plethora of events that we hold every year. Next slide. I am Allison Cohen. I am the sole contract administrator for the Department of Recreation and our 400 plus contracts. You want to make sure that see this email address. That is the main way to get in touch with me, and I am always available for any questions. Next slide. When we are looking at a vendor and either evaluating responsibility or a proposal that is provided, we're looking for high quality, timely, and low cost items and service. This ensures the adequate products that we need, as well as maintaining the responsibility of county dollars. Next slide. We buy everything. We buy graphic design services, basketballs, commercial kilns, screen printed jerseys, arts and craft supplies, fitness equipment and repair services, fireworks, pool equipment and chemicals, cleaning supplies, awards, Italian ice. We'll buy anything from construction paper all the way to a commercial size oven that we would need to install. We buy everything. Next slide. So we have a lot of upcoming solicitations in the next year. We have the printing and online publishing of our recreation guide, which has become really essential for our marketing purposes. We have fitness equipment maintenance, inspection, and repair services. That IFB will be going out shortly, and that is for not just recreation fitness equipment, but for the fitness equipment that is currently housed in our police stations and fire and rescue and corrections offices. We have lighting and sound for our Independence Day celebrations, which we'll hopefully have next year. We buy a variety of recreation equipment, and this includes everything from floor mats to softballs to jerseys to maracas and anything in between. We have a need for sodium hypochlorite, for which, if you didn't know, that's the chlorine for our swimming pools. We also require carbon dioxide for our swimming pools. We do a lot of purchase for our screen printed apparel. This is for our jerseys, our t-shirts that we provide to our participants. Part of our youth development program is a need for an online educational programs and curriculum development services. This helps our out of school time programs such as Excel Beyond the Bell and the Collaboration Council to better suit our young people while they're not in the classroom. Next one. So at all times, Recreation has 3 solicitations open. These are called open solicitations because they're ongoing, and they're for instructor services, official services, and coach bus services. This is a majority of our contracts because all of our programming, we need instructors of anything from yoga to softball to swimming and diving to I believe we have a macrame instructor as well doing our arts and crafts programs. Next slide. That's it for me. Everyone have a great day.
Allison, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Best of luck. Now, let's hear from Andy and Steve from Fire and Rescue.
One second, I don't see either in the group. Hi, Jack. While we're waiting for them, do you want to see if there's any questions in the chat box in the meantime, or if anyone has any questions for the presenters who are have already presented?
Bethany, I do not see any unanswered questions in the chat box. There were some, but I believe they've all been answered.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Steve.
Sharonda, it looks like Steve is going to present, and
Okay.
he needs to be taken off of mute.
Yep, Steve, you should be. I think that's you. It's not a county email. Okay, you should be able to unmute yourself, Steve. Go ahead.
I am, I'm all set. So Grace is calling me to, hold on here. Sorry, I'm on my notebook rather than my desktop. So for fire rescue, on behalf of fire rescue, I'll go through the presentation. Most of this is self-explanatory, but we're organization of 2,700 career and volunteer members, 120,000 calls annually. 80% of those are for EMS, so ambulance calls. But we do have an all hazards mission, EMS, fire suppression, water rescue, hazmat, collapse rescue, other technical rescue type things. And in addition, community outreach. We have a home safety program, smoke detectors, CO detectors. We do have a child safety seat program, as well as senior outreach to our senior citizens within the county. And we also provide fire safety through the school systems. So we have 40 some locations. So that includes, I think, off the top of my head, 35 fire stations, communication center headquarters, and a couple ancillary locations such as the ones, the place I work at on South Lawn Lane. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we do a lot here. It was interesting listening to the other agencies, how much they do. We're all very unique, but we buy everything from fire rescue vehicles to breathing apparatus to Band-Aids, but we also have to maintain our fire stations. So appliance repair from Department of Recreation. She already mentioned maintaining our exercise equipment. And we have about 65 active contracts right now, but we have a bunch more in the works, especially on the fleet management side. So there are 4 of us that are contract administrators, Andy, Leslie, myself, and Shireen work with the Office of Procurement. We're all familiar with the processes there. We do always look in the database for local small business opportunities, and we will use those when those are available to us. And I think the first presenter, Kathleen Hines, presented things best in terms of please be sure you're registered as a vendor and you keep your commodity codes updated. And if we issue an IFB, please register as receiving it, because even with what I do, we often issue amendments for everybody to see the amendments. So we have several upcoming solicitations that we know about, or that we, for 2021. Medical grade oxygen. So this includes police and health and human services. So this is all the oxygen we have in ambulances, fire trucks. So this is all patient, this is all for patient care. Senior fire safety outreach and education. So that's going to be I guess the best way to put it, a person that consultant, for the lack of a better term. Honestly, I'm not completely familiar with that part of the program, but that is that will be an IFB for somebody, for a person or persons that have specific experience dealing with senior citizens, for injury prevention, fire hazards, etc. Our fire stations need washer and dryers, and that will be in the Department of Corrections solicitation, I understand. But you know, our fire stations have kitchens, multiple washers and dryers, everything that you know, that you'd expect in a fire station, because those are really living quarters. We have a whole flotilla of boats out on the Potomac River. Montgomery County is responsible for the Potomac River from the Frederick County, I think it's Frederick County border, all the way across to the Northern Virginia borders. So we have a number of boats. Those boats have motors. They need parts and service. So we'll have an IFB for that. And in that case, we've standardized on Mercury Marine engines. HVAC water treatment service. Again, that's one I can't speak to specifically, but that's going to be part of a DGS solicitation. Inflatable rescue boats. I talked about boats for a second, but we do use a multiple variety of inflatable rescue boats. So we'll have a IFB for that. Next slide, if you could, please. Whoever is doing that, I appreciate it. I think I can't go back one because I don't see my specific items.
That's the last one from Fire and Rescue, Steve, that we have.
Okay, so we did, I was away last week. Do you want me to talk about some other things that I'm directly responsible for?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay, so so I am essentially the fleet manager for fire rescue. We have about 400 vehicles. We have a shop here on South Lawn Lane, and we are also responsible for all the tools and equipment we have on fire apparatus. So we have a lot of contract goals for 2021, and we may work with fleet management services. You heard Kathleen speak earlier on some of these items, but sometimes their needs are quite different than what they need in fleet management. But we will have a battery IFB. We will have a IFB for starters and alternators. One of the differences between us and other agencies, we buy new starters and alternators versus refurbished. We will be having an IFB for coolant. We primarily use OAT, organic acid technology coolant. That will probably be a partnership with other agencies. We will have a hand and power tool contract. So not only do we use tools in our shop, we use a lot of hand and power tools on our fire apparatus. So everything from screwdrivers to Milwaukee battery power tools as examples. We will have a tire solicitation coming out. The tire solicitation will be with local service, primarily Goodyear and Michelin, that has access to the government pricing from Goodyear and Michelin. And finally, we have lots of automotive parts to get under contract. And that will be a percentage off type solicitation. So for example, Meritor brake parts, you'll bid X% off list price for those items. We will not be listing hundreds of items as other non-Montgomery County agencies do. I think Fairfax does that. They end up with an IFB with dozens of pages of parts they need. We're going to simplify that. So that covers fire rescue. Thank you. Any questions?
There is a question in the chat box. that someone wrote in. Danny Arzanza says, this may have been addressed at the beginning of the session. I don't believe it was, which I missed. But how does MCFRS procure PPE, particularly masks and gowns? I don't know if you do that, Steve. Is that under your bailiwick?
It's not directly under me, but I do have a little familiarity with it. So that's considered EMS. We currently have a contract with Boundtree Medical. I don't remember the rest of Boundtree Medical, if it's Boundtree Medical Inc. or whatever. That's where we order the vast majority of items such as that. However, given the current situation, if Danny or Nicole that also sent a question want to send me their questions, I will be glad to forward it to the correct people that are more knowledgeable than I about those specific commodities.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Karen, were you involved in that for the county? Karen DeLuca?
Yes, in terms of PPE.
Yes.
Purchasing, yeah, I was just gonna address that in the chat. But I did want to say that the county is always, looking at our supply for PPE. And so if both of those individuals, Danny and Nicole, you could reach out to me. I will put my email address in the chat box, and then I will forward your emails to the appropriate people that handle buying the PPE for the county, especially during COVID.
Okay, great. Thanks, Karen.
And just to clarify, I assume those questions are related to PPE in terms of the COVID situation, not what fire traditionally calls PPE, which are coats, helmets, boots, bunker pants, etc.
Okay, great. Thanks, Steve. We've got a general question in the past that I think probably any of the contract administrators here can maybe address. The question would be, what qualifications are you looking for from vendors when you select contractors? Anyone like to handle that for us? Any one of the contract administrators?
Sure,
Hey,
I
John,
can take that.
I'll answer for my side over at with the publishing and document services. It depends on the type of solicitation that goes out. If it's an IFB, not only is it price-based, but the vendor has to be a reliable vendor to meet our needs. And if it's a RFB, then, of course, there's a lot of other requirements that go into that. But we're looking for qualified vendors that can deliver the services that we request.
Thank you, Rick. Kathleen, did you want to weigh in?
Sure. To actually get awarded a contract for fleet management for vehicles and equipment, and this is true of many, many other solicitations also, you have to be in good standing with the state of Maryland, the Department of Taxation and Assessments. Your SDAT must be in good standing. That is whether you are a domestic or a foreign bidder. In other words, you're a Maryland business or business. You must be in good standing with the state of Maryland through the State Department of Assessments and Taxation. Your prices have to be fair and reasonable. You must be a responsible bidder, able to perform the contract. And your bid must be responsive. You must do what you have, you must respond with what you have been tasked to respond with. And then any other specific needs for a vendor be listed in the special terms and conditions of the solicitation itself. Like, for instance, if you're selling us vehicles, you must be a licensed dealership. So look in the general, or look in the special terms and conditions of what you're bidding on for more information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
For
Allison?
recreation, yeah. It really depends on the service or the goods that we're purchasing, and all of the qualifications and what we're looking for is generally listed in the solicitation. What I have found that most of our solicitations have in common is that we ask that we have people who are experienced in providing those goods and services. So we can trust that providing services for our hundreds and thousands of county residents will still be met.
I see. Very good. Thank you. Would anyone else like to weigh in? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Well,
go
ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say that from fire standpoint, concur with everything that was just said. Absolutely.
It sounds like responsibility is a big buzzword. That's the common thread I took. So great. Well, I'd like to thank all the contract administrators, the procurement specialists, and the background staff who we don't see but have put a lot of effort in putting this forum on. And a special thanks for the vendors attending. We hope it was worth the expenditure of your time and that you take away something that is useful. Speaking of useful, we can use your efforts if you don't mind taking a survey. I think it's on the chat box. Did you put it up? Yeah, there it is. It's on the chat box. It's Survey Monkey. If you don't mind taking a few minutes to fill that out for us, we would very much appreciate it. So I believe that concludes our session. And thank you once again, and stay healthy.